Hey there, everyone. Welcome to Speak Now Pro Wrestling. It is July 5th, Wednesday, which means it's all about AEW Dynamite. And in case you missed it, starting, I guess, now, or I guess last week, I'm not even really sure when we made this permanent, but we're making it permanent. For those of you who missed it, Righteous Reg is officially the permanent guest host, not even guest host anymore, permanent host. There you go.
Yes.
Permanent host on the Wednesday show. So Reg, officially, I guess, welcome.
Thank you for having me. Very excited. It's been such a fun and entertaining time with you anytime we pod, Denise. So it only makes sense that every Wednesday night now after Dynamite, we give it up to all these great people here to support. And we just talk about some great AEW, right?
I agree. It's going to be really good. I feel like the last couple of weeks, people have really enjoyed that Kelly connection. We got this going, and it's been fun to have you on here and have the chat and everybody just coming in and getting to talk about AEW. And right now, I'm kind of in this position where, and I'm sure you feel it too, and maybe everybody watching here, where I really feel like we are on the brink of something special with AEW. Like you feel it with the programming that you're watching. You're excited about all of these different things. Like I'm really looking forward to Blood and Guts. I'm looking forward to All In and All Out and just like everything in general. So like I feel pretty good about it right now.
Yeah, it feels like there's something bubbling, like we're just right on the cusp of something amazing happening. It feels like every week it's kind of a mystery. Something could happen. People could show up. There's all kind of things going on. There's a lot to be excited about this summer with AEW and their programming and this wrestling. And we're just all so lucky to be able to be getting so much of it. I mean, we had a fun episode of Dynamite, but this Saturday we got CM Punk and Samoa Joe wrestling for the first time in a long time. So it's like there's so many great things to look forward to, Denise. Like I can't just pick one that's amazing, right?
I know, and it is really exciting to like look forward to it. And I'm so glad that you even mentioned the stuff about Collision because it's true. And like I didn't get to watch, I only watched a little bit of last week's Collision, but starting this Saturday, I'm gonna be back watching because it was just like for me, because Saturdays and Collision is on Saturdays, I feel like there are certain Saturdays that I'm gonna be like not watching the show depending on what's going on. So unfortunately, I didn't get to watch last week, but I'm really looking forward to this upcoming card, especially because we got the rest of the Owen Hart tournament. Yeah. We also got, like you mentioned, including in that tournament, Samoa Joe, CM Punk. We're also going to be getting FTR and Bullet Club Gold. So there's a lot to be excited about, even just with Collision, period. But before we get into what occurred with AEW Dynamite, you guys know the drill. If you want to help support this podcast, show some love, help me afford Reg on a permanent basis, you're more than welcome. Exactly. We don't do a hot dog and a handshake here.
Straight
all right. Hey man, when your landlord can say, you know what, I'll take a couple of hot dogs and a handshake for payment, then we'll start going with hot dogs and handshakes.
How am I going to store a hot dog for that long to give it to them? Like, what's the protocol here? Could I give them just a package of hot dogs, the 8 uncooked? There's too many rules. I can't do that, Denise.
Man, here, and especially here in California, we got to give the whole cow, man. We got to give the cow, we got to give a little piggy on the side just to afford to freaking live here.
Like all kind of stuff. What do you think this is?
So yes, please send in super chats. They do help us out a whole lot, and they also get your questions, your comments, your statements, and all that good stuff read here on the stream, on the podcast, and they're rolling in. So let's get right to it. We got our first couple of ones. This one's from Chris, who says, "So sick of loser like Dark Order on my TV." Ooh. Wait, is this? Are we like you're done with the Dark Order? Is that what I make from the super chat?
A lot of people are turned off by the Dark Order, unfortunately, Denise. I'm not one of those people, but I can understand why.
I get it. And I think part of the reason is that now I'm just going to be real. I didn't watch a lot of AEW Dark or AEW Dark Elevation. I really didn't. However, the times that I did, because I was at the actual events and I kind of, got there in time to watch the shows, I noticed that all the matches were like this Dark Order person versus this person, Dark Order versus this person, Dark Order versus this person, Dark Order versus that person. And that was kind of all we got. And I think the problem now is that you kind of associate the Dark Order with bottom level stuff on AEW in terms of just like AEW Dark and Dark Elevation.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think for people that followed along with like being the elite. Like me, I followed along with being the elite, and you kind of grew to like get an attachment to the Dark Order. But if you don't care about being the elite, and like you said, you just watch the Darks and the Dark Elevations, you're just like, these guys are some those guys. They're on those shows. They're not supposed to be in the main events. They're not supposed to be in main event angles, being on the last part of the show. But you know,
right. They accustom the viewers to like, oh yeah, just expect them here in this portion of the show. But
right.
and then when we get them like in main event type stories here on Dynamite, all of a sudden it's like we got to ignore that these guys were pretty much just like on the bottom tier of the programming for AEW. And I hate saying that because I do like the Dark Order, Reg.
Right. Yeah. No, because they're not like losers. They're not jobbers or anything. They're great pro wrestlers. They're involved in great matches. They're involved in great angles. But yeah, it can, to the regular viewer, it could seem like, who are these loser guys? Why are they in the shows with the Hangmans and the Elite? And why are they involved in that? So I get it.
Hey, you know what, Chris? Shout out to Chris for getting his, I guess, maybe hot take already, kicking us off with some controversy here on the podcast. If you want to get your hot take out here, hey, man, we're not going to judge. We don't judge hot takes here. That's what it is, Reg.
No way. We encourage hot takes. The hotter, the better, actually. Just keep them coming.
Grapple Geekery sends in a super chat saying, I had doubts about MJF and Adam Cole as a tag team, but tonight was magical. That said, RJ is clearly fixing these drawings. So I want to save the MJF Adam Cole talk for just a second, but let's address this bottom portion of what Grapple Geekery says, which is the fixing of the drawings. I have really loathed some of the pairings that we are seeing because we get like one portion of it, like half the match, half the teams, good. The other half, why do I even care?
Why do I care about this tournament at all, Denise? I know the point of the thing is that they're drawing names, but it feels like they're just drawing names. And I'm like, are you going to try to make sense of all this? What is the point of this when we have so many other great tag teams that are together all the time, but you're putting these wacky tag teams, wacky races, the tag team edition together? I haven't liked it from the beginning, Denise. As soon as they announced it, I was like, and every week I'm like,
You know, okay, this is how what I feel about it. I feel that if tomorrow, let's just say whatever, next week, we just popped in just to pop into AEW, they'd be like, oh, Denise and Reg are here. Screw it. They're a tag team. They're in this tournament. That is how random I feel the pairings have been.
They're like, hey, we like your guys' show. Do you guys want to be in this tournament? All right.
Hey, if you are in the chat right now and you left a comment, the person that left a comment above you is your tag team partner. So look at the comments. If you left a comment, if you haven't, leave one in there right now. If you left a comment,
partner right now. Get you a new tag team partner. We'll have the blind tournament right here on the show, and we'll move forward because that's what's going on. Every week they announce Jeff Jarrett and Matt Hardy, Denise.
Hey, can I tell you that I kind of love that?
I knew you would. That's the funny part about this. I'm like, Denise is going to like this shit.
But I think it should have been that segment where they announced that Matt Hardy was going to be teaming up with Jeff, not Hardy, Jarrett. Yeah. I think that they should have written it better, though, because they had a really good opportunity to be like, okay, so you had RJ City who made the announcement of Jeff. And then afterwards, Matt Hardy goes like, my brother Jeff? I think instead he should have instantly assumed that it was his brother Jeff. And been like, yes, exactly. And then have RJ City be like, no, actually it's Jarrett. I think had they done it like that better, it would have hit harder that the joke was that it wasn't Jeff Hardy, but instead Jeff Jarrett.
I'm gonna be in agreement with you because that would have sounded a little better. It seemed a little bit
forced
with the way forced. Yeah, that's probably a better way to describe it. It was like, okay, I get what you guys are going for. I don't know if you stuck the landing though.
Right. Like, I don't want to feel like Matt was in on it, right? Like the whole thing is to make us be like, oh, Matt was not in on it. But with the way that they did it, I kind of felt like it was obvious. Like, come on now, like at least try a little bit. I don't know. So that's kind of how I felt about that. But we got a super chat here from Amir F. who says Chris Hero and Ibushi for blood and guts. We'll get into our blood and guts predictions in just a second, but let me just address this. Are you expecting at all for it to be Chris Hero? Because there's a lot of people that are putting in his name in there.
I wouldn't expect it to be Chris Hero. I think Chris Hero is around in the back. If he is going to be with AEW moving forward, in-ring return could potentially happen, but I think it's just way too soon. It's way too close to Blood and Guts to kind of establish why Chris Hero would be such a great addition to it. He would be great. It would be awesome. And there's a lot of people that would be stoked for it. But it's like you kind of want to tell the story a little bit. I don't think they have enough time to tell that story.
Exactly. That's the problem. Like, as much as like I'm a big fan of Chris Hero, I used to watch him back in the day in PWG, man. That's how I discovered Chris Hero. Like, that's how I knew Chris Hero was because of PWG. And so I feel like, you know, I've had all this reckless respect for him all of these years, but it is one of those things where I'm like, I don't necessarily know if it would make sense to the story that they're telling right now. It would feel very, very random. Like, kind of just let's just get a pop for those people that would know.
Yeah, like him and Claudio have been a tag team for a long time, and everybody would like that, but it'd be like, okay, you know, it would work and be great, but I think it'd be better if they told a little story as to why, and I think there's just not enough time. But Ibushi, I'd probably go and get my FanDuel bet on right now.
Save your predictions, Reg. Save your predictions. I'm going to ask you for your official prediction. And we got another Reggie in here.
Hey, what's up, Reg?
Reggie Simmons, who's always very, very supportive of this podcast, says the best post-game show in the biz, just got hella dope. Welcome to Wednesday night, Reg. I love it. Reg showing some love to Reg.
Shout out to Reggie Simmons. He's also a supporter of Grapsity. Always great to see that person in here. So shout out to y'all. I'm really excited to be here on Wednesday nights. And when the shows are fun and kind of variety based like they have been, makes it even more fun.
I agree. Chi-Town Spurs says Dark Order spent too much time cooled off between Hangman's title, and now I'll always have a spot for them since they were day one of AEW. Like, that's the thing. In like, when we talk about the Dark Order, like, I don't think we don't hate the Dark Order, right? Like, we don't hate the Dark Order because, you know, you like Evil Luna for what he presents. I even love seeing him get aggressive with Hangman Page last week. John Silver's freaking funny as hell. Reynolds is very good, but it is just the problem. Like, Chi-Town Spurs here says they cooled off a whole lot.
Yeah, and I think they'll always have like kind of an emotional attachment because of like Brody and like -1 and the kind of things they had attached to that. So nobody will ever be like, but they still just kind of have that stigma of they're those guys. They're not on the same level as the Elite, Denise. How are they supposed to compete with the Elite?
Exactly. We got a super chat here from Ronald Hollick who says, my fears are the fifth man for Blackpool Combat Club and Blood and Guts is Chris Jericho with his Don Callis angle. And with Bryan Danielson out and Jericho being involved in every Blood and Guts match in AEW, I'm going to say no.
No, don't say that, Ron. Don't even put that energy into the air. We don't want Jericho. No parts of this match. And that is just you're putting together some great bookings right there. That sounds like something could actually happen. So, Ronald, you better cut it out, brother.
Ronald, don't even manifest it. We don't want to manifest it. And keep in mind, Chris Jericho's my favorite wrestler.
Right.
So, and I'm out here saying, like, let's not manifest that. But I wouldn't hate it, though. You know, let me be real. I wouldn't hate it. Why am I being a hater right now? I wouldn't hate it if Chris Jericho was in the Blood and Guts. It's just that people are expecting all of these other big names and these other people that you don't get to see so often, and people want to be surprised. I think that AEW has really gotten their fans used to expecting these big surprises.
Especially kind of how they announced it on the show today, where they showed the graphic and they're like, who's going to be the mystery person? If it's like the mystery person is Chris Jericho, that's not going to be, the fans are not really going to get jiggy with that. But, you know, I don't know, crazier things have happened. If the other side with the Elite have a big name announced, they could make the Chris Jericho thing work. So I don't know.
You know what this means, right? Everybody's got to get Y2 jiggy.
Oh God!
I know. Every week,
every
week I got one. Chris sends in another super chat saying, to me, Dark Order bring the Elite down to their level. I don't blame them. I don't blame Chris for having this opinion. The only thing that saves it, though, is the long history that Hangman Page and the Dark Order have had. And it has been lovable.
Right. So it's not just like it's out of nowhere. Like, you're supposed to have this connection, like I said, to being the Elite and the long history that Hangman Page has attached to them. Every time Hangman Page is in kind of one of these looking for a partner or trying to get some help type deal, the Dark Order has always been there. So they do have like a legitimate gripe, but also still on the same thing. I understand why people are like, nah.
We understand. Hal Haney says, first super chat ever, and you guys are great. Thank you so much.
Thanks, bro.
Double H.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I do this? Reg, why
you can't help it, Denise. You can't help it.
I can't help it.
Double H.
Double H. It's just like, here's the problem. I say everything that instantly pops into my mind.
You have to. With all the content and stuff that you're doing on the weekly basis, Denise, you just got to go for it. You can't let anything be stored. Just got to shoot it right out of there. I get it.
Do you remember, I don't know, do you remember when The Rock was making fun of, I think he was making fun of Eugene, and he was making fun of him, and there was a promo where The Rock said, yay, Triple H. And he was like making fun of it. And for some reason, like, I don't remember anything just but the part where he says, yay, Triple H. So now, and I'm sure somebody here remembers that promo. There's people that remember everything. But that one.
If our friend was here, he'd be like, that was on Raw 19, blah, 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 blah. Shoot him a text. He'll probably know.
But every single damn time I think of Triple H, no matter what the subject is, no matter what's going on, the first thing that pops into my mind is The Rock's voice going, yay, Triple H.
So now you just thought of, yay, Double H. I get it.
Right, exactly.
You brought it all the way back around.
Brought it all the way back. All right, we got a super chat here from Shelton Jackson who says, congrats to Eddie Kingston, the new strong openweight champion. Well-deserved and so happy for him. It showed how much it meant to him. Also kind of bums that Willow lost her title to Julia. I want to see a three-way with them, too, and Monet. So let's get some thoughts on this. You know, how do you feel about, Eddie Kingston getting this moment? And did you at all get a chance to watch this match?
I didn't get to watch the match, but I did see the highlights, and I love that they showed the highlights on Dynamite, being that match didn't take place that long ago. Just them having that partnership with New Japan is so cool that we're able to see the moments like this. And Eddie Kingston win, and he's deserved a big moment like this for a long time. I hope that he gets a big moment like this in AEW with the title win. But I think this one, even beyond, like, that sounds really cool. This is something, like he said in that promo a few nights ago, he's wanted this since he was 13. Like, this is a lifelong dream at this point. And for him to get a big win against a legend like Kenta in Japan is just so awesome. And on the other side, I feel really bad for Willow too, but circumstances, and you think about it, she wasn't originally supposed to be the champion. There's all these reasons why this thing wasn't supposed to happen and where she is, but she still got to where she was. She still got to have these big moments. She got to beat Mercedes Moné in that match. We were there, Denise, big moments, all these stuff that's happened to build up to this. So I think we just have to appreciate that journey that got her here.
And it boosted her up so much because either way that night, again, she wasn't supposed to be defeating Mercedes Moné. And look at her, she got a main event. Main event. That's huge. New Japan, like, they don't do women's matches that often. To main event with two black women, like, that moment alone is already huge. And then what you got from that, she's potentially going to win this Owen tournament, or she's going to have a great run, all kind of stuff going on. So, like, I think it's a win for her, even though this is kind of a sad way for her to lose it, you know? I agree. And also, like, the thing about that I do want to mention too is that I do like that AEW always makes these like video packages and kind of makes it a big deal that, hey, when they did it, they did a video package for Eddie Kingston, they did one for Willow, where it's like, hey, this is a big deal that they went to this other promotion. Clearly they have a working relationship. We know it clearly. That's fine. But it still just adds so much though. It adds so much to the person because if, and even just like the story that they're telling with Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley and having this video package play out just adds so much more to Eddie Kingston, period. So I do like that they always do that. Also, here it is. Everybody has it. This is from Patrick Scrogans, who says, I vividly remember the promo when Triple H kept yelling Eugene, and it might be my favorite Triple H promo. And Amato Mania says that he asked him who his favorite wrestler was, and Eugene yelled Triple H. So that's what it was. Yes.
Okay, now it's coming back in my
Yeah.
brain. Yeah,
I'm gonna have to watch the video on YouTube. I'm gonna Google it after this because now it's like in my mind. Stephen Marchulli sends in a super chat saying Allin made the match Jade versus Baker. Sadly, Baker's star has been diminished by booking.
We got to talk about that match here soon, Denise.
Well, let's get to it. Let's kick it off with that then. Might as well.
Britt Baker, you guys. I mean, that wasn't that great of a performance out there. And it's been a lot of them. You know, I don't want to say the karma train has caught up to old Britty, but since she started talking trash about Thunder Rose on that TV show, things have not looked great for the young lady on Dynamite. Am I capping? Am I talking crazy out here, Denise? Because
look, I didn't see the show. I never watched All Access. Just not a reality TV person, but I've seen the stuff that was on social media. And clearly there are, you know, all these different reports and stories, and you don't know, some things may be not true, some things may be largely exaggerated, but it is very clear though that everything that we have consumed that has involved Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa, it is very clear that they do not like each other, right? Like that's point blank. They don't like each other. Thunder Rosa has spoken about, you know, apologizing to the women's roster. She spoke about this on Busted Open. And there's just so much that went on with this. But here's the thing, though. Like, I don't think I necessarily felt as negatively towards this match with Britt Baker and Ruby Soho. I didn't think it was great by any means, but I did like, I think primarily the reason why I didn't hate this match was because I actually thought that they made the Outcasts probably look stronger than they have in the past. I love the way that, you know, at one point Toni Storm hits Britt Baker in the face with the championship. I like that for the finish. Ruby Soho, when she got the win, what did she do? She used her teammates, her stablemates' hands to keep the leverage to get that pin on Britt Baker. But I do think that, so I agree that right now Britt Baker is not, you know, she's not at the top as she was when she first won the AEW Women's World Championship. Like during that time when Britt Baker became AEW Women's World Champion, she felt like one of the hottest, and I mean hottest, not just women, but men and women in AEW. Like she was freaking over. And I feel like, I don't know what the hell happened. They weren't able to keep those flames going. Like they weren't able to keep it alive. And so I do feel like everything that she's been doing in the recent weeks and just the program that she's been involved in, it doesn't feel like it's necessarily screaming hot stuff for Britt Baker. However, because Britt Baker did manage to get so over in AEW, I feel like she can always get that back.
Yeah, she's like I don't want to make comparisons, but it's like her being like one of the four horsewomen in WWE. Like any of those women will always be able to get heated back up no matter what happens. And I think Britt has entered that stage of like, if they built her up for 3 or 4 weeks straight, people would be right back on the Britt train. But I just think right now in this match, I don't know, karma might have caught up to her. But yeah, I agree on the Outcast stuff. I think when they first came in and when Saraya first came in and they were kind of doing this Outcast thing, we didn't really believe it. We were just kind of like, yeah, I guess you guys, something wasn't connecting. But the last couple months, Tony winning the belt, them just Ruby getting stronger, having strong promo skills as a unit, we're now like, okay, now we get this Outcast thing. Now this is great. Now they have real genuine heat. They haven't been rehashing the same angle for 6 weeks straight. Remember, they kept doing that same angle every week, and we were like, you guys, we just saw this.
Yes, I feel like I think things started livening up for them when we had that Hikaru Shida moment, the swerve with the swerve with the swerve. Everything since then has felt a lot better. And now when they go out there, I don't think, here we go again.
Right. They're about to do this same thing again where they beat up the baby face and somebody makes the save. It's like, no, they switched it up. They've gotten hot. And yeah, I think the way that they finished the match was a great way to kind of show that their unity is strong and it's going to take a lot to defeat this. And I think it showed that Ruby's going to be the one to beat, I think, in this tournament. I talked a lot about Willow maybe potentially winning it, but the way that Ruby has been the last couple of weeks is like, it's going to be hard to beat her.
Right. So she's going to go up and face as Sky Blue next. And I don't know, do you think there's a possibility that Sky Blue, considering that she's also very popular.
A lot of momentum.
Yes, she is. I would say she's more popular. I don't want to say she's more popular than Ruby Soho. I think maybe the fans would be a little bit more interested right now in Sky Blue. It's just that Ruby Soho is more known.
Yeah, I think it's tough because I hear what you're saying, but it's like they're not supposed to be because Ruby's a heel, but it's Ruby. I can't really bet against Ruby, and Sky Blue's thing is really strong at this moment. I think the way that they've been setting her up the last 3-4 months, like I've been saying, she's on every single show. Like they've been saying, like she's one of the homegrown stars of AEW. So if she did pull out the victory over Ruby, I wouldn't be that surprised about it.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. Like, I think the story-wise, it makes more sense to have Ruby Soho going strong and keep doing her thing. But it would be a pretty nice damn surprise if Sky Blue were to get the victory here. But we'll see. We'll see about that. We got another super chat here from James Hammond who says, Matt and Jeff Jarrett got history from early 90s WWF.
That's a sick history to revisit that we have to watch it.
Magnum Wade sends in a super chat saying, I still maintain the wrong people won the Owen Hart tournament last year, especially when Ruby came out with Rancid. So I'm glad Soho got the win. I think last year, I don't know if I was necessarily rooting for Britt, but I think once we saw the outcome, it made sense that they wanted to do a husband and wife thing. And that just, it made sense.
I just didn't like how they didn't capitalize off of it at the end. It was just like they presented them the belts and they had the big moment, the pictures, and then it was over. We never heard about it again. So I'm hoping that this year they do a little something. But yeah, that is interesting thing for Magnum to bring up that they had Rancid. That entrance was badass, one of the best they've had in AEW history. And it was just like, oh, but Ruby lost.
Yeah, I get you. Grapple Geekery sends in a super chat saying, am I the only one who checks out as soon as it's clear the babyface came out alone versus the Outcast? I deleted half a dozen angry tweets to Will and AEW after the Willow Tony match. I was so pissed. I love it. If you're mad, go tweet them. I don't think I've ever, Raj, have you ever been so mad that you tweeted somebody and was like,
I've definitely added Vince McMahon before. Like if you go through Righteous Reg and at Vince McMahon, you would definitely see some angry tweets.
Wait, did you tag him in that one video that you did where you were just like, you came out of the show? I think, was it a Raw or something? You came out and I don't know if I tagged him.
I just said his name very profoundly, but yeah, I definitely have went and been like, you son of a bitch, I can't believe you did this before. So I get it. Like I can't even front like that's crazy because I've done it before.
Okay, but here's the thing. And like I could never do that, even if it was a joke and everyone knew that it was a joke, because my fear is that they are going to think that I'm being like legitimate. Like, I don't feel like I can joke about stuff like that. So it
works for Vince because I know he's not reading his
Twitter. Not his Twitter account, right?
Joke, but like, if you at Tony Khan's gonna read it and be like, "What, dude?" He probably will respond to you too. So there's some lines. It depends, right. And Will might too at this point. So don't be too crazy over Washington. He's out here.
I know. Imagine all of a sudden we'll be like, you know what, Denise? I don't like that you said this.
There's not two people in this podcast right now that have stopped this person we're talking to from tweeting some crazy shit at a time. Maybe that's not a good idea, my friend.
So yes, I love it, Reg. Reg is just spilling all the secrets.
Listen, this is what they've came for, Denise.
Okay, it is true. It is true. We have stopped Will from tweeting things that he should not be tweeting. The amount of times I've told him, Will, just don't do it. It's not worth it. Don't tweet this. Ignore it. Ignore it. Ignore it. And I feel bad because there's times where I get it. Like, I know you want to tweet shit out. And sometimes it could be a joke. It won't even be anything serious. But the way to look at it is, how can this be misconstrued into something else?
So easy to be misconstrued. The easiest thing in the world is for somebody to turn your words into what they think your words meant. So
yes. And we've all had it happen. We've all had it. It doesn't matter if you have 1 follower, 20 followers, 1,000 followers, 100,000. It's happened to a lot of people. Chris sends in a super chat saying Britt needs to be heel, not good as a face. Do you agree with this?
Yeah, I think and then her not having Jamie Hayter there also, I think, plays a big part in why it doesn't seem as hot as that. But yeah, Britt as a face is just wasn't. It's just not a hitting. That stuff we were talking about and her being super hot. She's a monster heel. People wanted to see her defeated, but like her making the climb as like a baby face is like, I'm okay. And honestly, the competition for women in AEW is so much stronger than when she was doing her thing. When she came up in, like, think of the different amount of great women we have now in AEW as compared to then. It's like, I mean, I see why it might not look the same at this point.
It's tough too. And you mentioned a really good point where you mentioned the pool of selection of the women that were surrounding Britt at the time. And
like
now
Brandy Rhodes was there. I mean, no shade, but like
here's a perfect example, Reg. So Toni Storm, before she got into WWE, when she was in WWE, she was very like, people loved her. People wanted to, the conversation was always, we want to see more of Toni Storm. We want to see Toni Storm be the star that she is, right? Yep. She goes to AEW. She gets a really nice reaction. But when she became champion, no one reacted. There wasn't that reaction. Why? Because at that time, the people cared about somebody else. Somebody else at the time was Jamie Hayter. And so it really depends on the period, the time that you are, who the fans want to see. Because that is like, you see the AEW audience, as much as they liked, Toni Storm, and I'm sure they did, they just wanted to see Jamie Hayter was instead.
Bubbling. Yeah, they were hot. That she had some heat that was crazy. Remember when they would just even mention her name, people would be like, ah, yeah, no, it was crazy. Then that was a crazy circumstance exactly that you're bringing up here, because Toni Storm was having great matches and she was in a great position, but people just wanted Jamie so bad that it did put a little thing on Toni Storm's win.
It did. And here's the thing. I truly believe that there is this, I still think there is a spot to grab for the top woman in AEW that has not yet been grabbed. I do not think that top star, that's top thing has been cried. Exactly. Like, I cannot say, like, who would you say is the Becky Lynch for the women in AEW?
I thought Jamie Hayter was on her way. I think if she didn't get injured and she was going to be like exactly what we're talking about here. The massive ovation she was getting, how people were just clamoring for her. I thought she was on her way, but I can't say right now that she got to that position. I don't think there's anybody right now that you could be like, that's the number one wrestler in AEW, number one women's wrestlers. Like, I wouldn't put that on Britt, and I don't think there's anybody else that I would put that on at the moment.
So the opportunity is there for someone to become that person for AEW. And that's what I want to see. And that's what I hope that, when Jamie comes back, and I don't know if it's Jamie. I don't know if by then the people are going to want somebody else. I don't know. We don't know, right? Like, we can't decide. But I really, really want to see that happen for one of the women on the roster. Like, I really want to get another moment where you have somebody that's so over that they get their moment, right? That's what I hope that they work for towards that. But Grapple Geekery sends in a super chat saying, none of the women on this roster are stupid, but they are booked like they are versus the Outcast. Sheeta was just a blip in the copy and paste to me. And Grapple Geekery also says, and I legit added AEW tonight about it. There was a sign too, and I don't know if you guys saw this, but there was a sign on the right hand, right in the front, that said Women's Tag Team Championships, Tony, you coward, or something like that. I only saw it one time, but I did see it tonight. So I'm like, I'm surprised. Are they not checking these fan signs?
They usually don't. I don't think they do until they see it like on the camera, and then like, oh yeah, somebody go and get that. But before they come in, it's like when you come in the door, I don't think they're like harassing you to look at what it is.
I don't know, because the last time that AEW was here in LA, they were checking the signs. And I looked in the trash can because I saw one sign be thrown away, because I wanted to see what it is that got thrown out. And the sign that got thrown out was that Jericho had a small pee-pee. That was the sign that got trashed. Well, fast forward to, I think it was the San Diego show later on, the person had the same sign that was thrown out in Los Angeles, in San Diego, and they were literally sitting like third, fifth row. Like you can see the sign, and I'm like, hey, that's the sign I saw.
think it's
get thrown
just an
out.
LA thing. That's it. LA has to be extra careful because they have so many events, so many shows. They're like, hey, make sure you check all these signs because somebody's gonna say something wild. But then you go a couple 100 miles the other way and over there, and they're letting it get off. Yeah, I don't know if it's like,
Damn, they discriminated against
I
us.
think they did.
They were like, oh, Los Angeles, we're in the ghetto.
I mean,
They
when you
ain't
pull up to the
wrong.
Kia Forum, I'm like, it's crazy out here, you guys.
Hey man, I'm from LA, man. I know this. I know what kind of people we have here.
But those are
I
good
love
people out
it.
there. Shout out to my LA peeps.
Yeah, seriously. But anyway, so shout out to that person that ended up getting their sign, but in San Diego, and they had to remake it too because that thing was in the garbage.
Yeah, no, I hope they didn't dig it out and try to use it the next time. It'd be gross.
That's awesome. All right, let's get to it. We got so much more to get into here today. Let's go ahead and rewind to the top of Dynamite. And I want to talk about this Nick Wayne video package. Let's kick it off there because we had a video promoting Nick Wayne, who's going to be turning 18 in just a couple of days. And we already knew because it's been a very long time that he has signed an AEW contract. And in this video, we had Darby Allin basically talk about, what his dad, Buddy Wayne, meant to him and how he, how he felt when he passed away and how he basically made a pact to protect Nick Wayne. And even though he said, obviously, he doesn't need this protection, but I want to do that for him. I want to see him live his dreams, right? A very, very big brother, little brother type of relationship. Oh man, Reg, I felt emotional watching this.
Yeah, this was a great video to see, especially if you know anything about this story. It's like, this is real. Like, that's what makes it even better. It's like Nick Wayne has been tearing it up on the indies for a long time, but they've been telling this story about where he came up, how he came up, his dad, Darby Allin and Swerve. All these people are involved in that. For them to kind of be going full-fledged on it, and Swerve is trying to come and play super villain like immediately next week. It's like, wow. It's a great way to introduce Nick Wayne for the people that don't know him. You get emotional attachment before you even see him. And then they're going to see him in the ring and they're going to see his heart and they're going to get even more of an emotional attachment to him. It's great. Great stuff.
Man, and I'm like, he's a kid, he's 18 years old. I know that's, legal and all that, but he's a kid. And so when I see him, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so happy for him. I do have an interview, by the way, up here on the channel with Nick Wayne. It's about like an hour long. We recap everything, guys, everything. And I think it's definitely a good watch to check out before his debut, his official first match in AEW with Swerve Strickland. So check that one out. I think you guys would be pretty impressed, especially considering how young he started wrestling and what that experience was like. So please check that out. And so, that match with Swerve, clearly, they've wrestled before, they have history. This was a perfect first opponent just to, let Nick Wayne show who he is to the AEW audience.
Yeah, they've had two really amazing matches in Defy Wrestling. If you guys know anything about Defy, they run in like the Seattle area and stuff like that, where these guys are from. And they've had two really amazing matches. The first one, Swerve destroyed him. The next one, Nick Wayne came back and defeated him for the Defy Championship. Two amazing matches. If you can watch those before you see this match next week, would be great. But you don't need to, because these guys are going to show you something really amazing. Like Denise has been saying, Nick Wayne he's 17, but in a few days, legit days, I think it's the 10th, he turns 18. Then he could finally he's had a contract with AEW for a year and some change. You can't be on TV when you're a legit kid. Gonna be an adult starting off against Swerve. This is such a huge moment. And the match next week is gonna be so dope, and people are gonna just love this kid off rip, which is such a great thing.
And I'm so glad that you mentioned the part about him not being able to be on TV yet, because if you paid close attention to that video package, not once did they actually show Nick Wayne, aside from the footage that was from the Defy footage. So aside from the Defy footage, they didn't show Nick Wayne in any sort of capacity in terms of him right now in the present.
Mm-hmm.
Like they didn't do any of that. So that was like something to pay attention to, I feel. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into the coexisting angle between Adam Cole and MJF. Let's break it down. Let's cover the first portion of this. So the first portion of this was this bro date between MJF and Adam Cole, and they are working out at the gym, and MJF is fat shaming another person who is there and making fun of him. And Adam Cole's like, you can't talk like that. And MJF is kind of like, And then finally, I guess Adam Cole's just like, oh, whatever, I'm going to play his game too. And then switches gears and says, oh, yeah, he reminds me of Tony Schiavone, since that's what MJF is always saying about Tony Schiavone.
Schiavone.
Yeah. And then we get Adam Cole then shows off how much weight he can actually lift. And then there's this moment where MJF is just like, what? Like, I can't believe he did that. And that was obviously, I think the reason why they did that is because people are always criticizing Adam Cole's physique.
Yep. Little jab. There's a bunch of things that they're doing here to kind of throw it at the internet of like, these are things you say and these are things you do, and we're aware of the shit you guys be talking.
Exactly. So how did you feel about what they did? Like the little video? I want to see more.
I like that Puff was involved in it. Shout out to Puff. He's a great wrestler out of Buffalo, New York. One of the Buffalo boys for sure. So that was a great thing. I think these are
the guy that we're making fun of.
Yeah, the big guy. He's a wrestler. I think these are really fun things. It's like, it's hard for me to say that I like this because it's attached to this blind tag team eliminator thing that I don't like. And it seems like the catalyst for this whole thing is just an angle for that. And I don't like anything involved in it. So it's like, I want to like this stuff, but I'm like, the reason that I can't like it is because the end result is against the damn tag division and I can't get behind it.
Okay, so Reg, I'm about to turn heel on you. I'm sorry. And even though I think the teams that they've been doing, aside from Darby and Orange Cassidy, which we'll talk about later, aside from them, I actually really like what they were doing with MJF and Adam Cole. And I was totally against this like last week and the week before that. I was like, oh, here we go. There's going to be some coexisting bullshit. It's going to be the exact same thing that we had with MJF and Sammy Guevara. And it was so freaking annoying. And so that's what I was thinking inside my head. But what we ended up getting here, it was very enjoyable, actually. And I'm very happy we got this. So the match itself was really nothing extraordinary. The whole gist between MJF and Adam Cole versus Matt Menard and The Butcher was that MJF was copying Adam Cole, did his entrance. They did the whole coexisting thing. That was that portion. Whatever. Nothing too crazy about that.
Yeah.
But the post-match stuff ended up being a birthday party for Adam Cole. So MJF first asked
Max
him.
is a wild boy.
He is. He really is. He asks him, can we have another bro session? And then wishes him a happy birthday. I didn't even know it was Adam Cole's birthday, but it's his birthday. I Googled, I checked. And the production people come out. They bring out cake. There's party hats. There's streamers that exploded out of there. They've got balloons, you name it, the works. And then MJF starts busting out a happy birthday song, I guess like a cappella or something. I don't know. Tells them, make a wish. And then he tells to the camera that he's about to smash Adam Cole's face into the cake. But Adam Cole, I guess, senses it and instead has MJF's face get smashed into the cake. So it ends with MJF on the ground with cake all over his face. And Adam Cole thanks him. How'd you feel about this?
The MJF singing the happy birthday song was like, it's so silly and so ramped up and so what he wants to do that I really liked it. I like the angle of him just hamming it up and going extra into this, being a babyface and wanting to support Adam Cole. Adam Cole, I liked also the role that he's playing of like, he knows that MJF is fucking with him and he knows that he's trying to get over him, but also is like, I'm just going to have a good time with this guy, I guess. Like, what's the worst that could happen? I know he's going to stab me in the back the first chance that he's get, but I'm going to just be along for the ride because hopefully I'll get a championship match at the end of it.
So do you think that there's going to be any point during this story where Adam Cole actually develops a soft spot, a legitimate soft spot for MJF?
Yes, I think that's where MJF's going to be able to stab him right in the back because Adam Cole, because you see how they keep getting Roderick strong and Roderick keeps being like, yo, what's going on, Adam? Why do you keep why you messing with this fool? Like, you're being weird. And Adam Cole's been like, I got this. Don't worry about it. And that I got this, I don't worry about it is going to lead to him being like, damn, we had a couple of bro dates. He got me a birthday cake. Maybe he's not so bad. And then that's when Max gets him.
No, Reg, no. I think we're wrong.
What
I
happened?
figured it out as you were recapping this right now. I had like a glass shatters moment. Freaking, okay. This is what's going to happen. I figured it out. So we're going to think that Adam Cole legitimately developed a soft spot for MJF. But instead, it is going to be a swerve from Adam Cole's part. And the person who is actually going to develop a soft spot is MJF for Adam Cole.
Oh,
because what's the one thing, what's the major criticism people have always been critiquing about MJF? That he's the same, that he's a one-trick pony. We only get the exact same thing. And we've seen swerves like this from MJF before in the past, but not like this, where he's the one who ends up basically getting his love thrown back into his face.
And the way that they set this up by MJF being like, I always loved Adam Cole. When I was coming up, he was the guy I always wanted to be just like him. I'm so happy to team with him. He's gonna, he could develop that. Damn, I did always love him. I am kind of here because of him. I was sad when he was injured. Maybe it is. Oh, I see what you got going on here.
Yes,
this
is what I think. I think Adam Cole is going to be the one person who actually gets into MJF's heart, and then afterwards is going to betray MJF. And
wow, Adam Cole, because like in the match too, they were telling the story that like they were going behind the ref's back, and Adam Cole was doing some heel things. So Adam Cole, and in their match, when Adam Cole, we thought he wasn't going to use the championship, and he used the championship. He's kind of been establishing that he got some heel tendencies too, and Max might have him fucked up thinking he's not a badass heel too. Denise, wow, look at you. Little investigator. You figured it out, I think.
There's also another thing, and I may be pushing it here, but there's another thing, and maybe I'm reading too much into this. I probably am. But the wish that Adam Cole got to make.
The wish.
You never tell anybody your wish. What was Adam Cole's wish? I'm assuming it was clearly the match that he wants to have with MJF. But I think there's more going on there.
That's going to play into it for sure, that they emphasized that, and he did the slow walk over to blow out the candle.
I think we got it. All right, well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, the match was the worst part of this whole thing, I think. Like the video package was great, and then the birthday party stuff was good, and then the match was just like,
Yes. I love it. I honestly love it. I'm excited because this was something that I didn't even care about, and now all of a sudden I care. I care now. I care. All right. Let's see what else we got here. We got a lot of people sending in some really great predictions. We got so many people saying whether or not some people think that I'm right, that this could happen. People are expecting Cole to turn on MJF. A bunch of different stuff on here. Once again, guys, as we continue moving forward, we got another super chat actually here from Grapple Geekery, who says MJF took Roddy's spot in the in the Undisputed Era pose. That was a good time. The only part where I think MJF almost had it perfectly was when they did the boom. He dropped it too fast. Adam Cole keeps the finger there a lot longer, and
figure it out, Max.
Yeah, he just went like boom and put it down, but Adam Cole does the boom and keeps it there. Gotta hold it. How many times have you watched this entrance, MJF? Come on, dude. That was the only criticism I had of that, but I was like, oh, it's the little things here. All right, so there you go. But we're gonna continue on. There's still so much more to talk about in regards to what happened with AEW Dynamite here today. Friendly reminder: if you guys want to help support this podcast, give it some love. Send in your super chats. We will be pulling those up as we continue on. Let's go ahead and get into this next big portion of the show, and the next big portion is the Jericho Don Callis situation. So Jericho goes out there. He's talking about how it's bittersweet that he's been taking all of this losses, and he starts to feel like things have to change. He says he wants to reevaluate things, make some changes, that perhaps we're going to be seeing a better Jericho, a better version of Jericho, king of reinvention, right? Don Callis comes out. We need to talk about his theme too.
What was that, Denise? What was that theme?
I loved it. You know what it sounded like? You know when you're about to get really bad news. And if there were like a soundtrack playing in our lives when we're about to get bad news, that was it right there.
No, that was like I kept saying, what was that? But that's perfect music for Don Callis, because you're just like, God, I'm confused and I hate it a little bit. Like, I don't know
I
what this is.
loved it.
Perfect for Don Callis. Awesome music.
Yes, it was very, very like, oh, it was cinema.
It,
You know it. You know it. You know that you would hear that in some scene on some movie. Something's about to happen. Bam, play the Don Callis song, and the character's trying to, I don't know.
Come on, you guys. Come on. I want to escape this one time, Denise. Damn it.
You can't escape it. Okay, so Don Callis goes out there and he's talking about wanting to build a new family. He's talking about the respect that he's had for Chris Jericho. Excuse me, the trust that he's had. He wants someone that he can trust, and he mentions Chris Jericho being that person, and then offers him a spot in his family. And Jericho's like, you're offering me a spot in your faction? I don't join factions. I create them. And then he goes off, right? And Don Callis asks him again, do you want to be in my faction? And Jericho says, maybe. Then we get a backstage segment where he's confronted by Daniel Garcia and Sammy Guevara. And they're like, dude, what the hell? And he basically kind of gives them the shrug. He's like, hey guys, it's time you guys go on your own. I can't take care of you forever. What do you make of this?
I don't know what to make of this. I'm very confused about all this because Jericho and Sammy it seems like we were getting set up for them to have this breakup angle. Then Jericho comes out and does this promo tonight where he says he's reinventing himself. And then Don Callis comes out and makes some great points. He's like, oh yeah, Jericho, I'm kind of the reason that you're here, actually. He's like, I got the match with you and Kenny Omega. If it wasn't for that match, you probably wouldn't even be here. So I see that very strong. Don Callis is such a great promo. And the crowd, didn't they just hate him so much? Oh my God, that's how you do it. Again, don't get me on Dom Mysterio shit again. But when the crowd is hot and you got heat and you know how to talk, you could get both those things done. Because Don Callis could have milked it. He could have let the crowd boo him and not talk. But he's a professional and he's good at this. And he got his shit up. But yeah, great promo there. But I just don't know what to think of this, Denise. Where is this leading? Is Chris Jericho going to be a part of Don Callis's family? I don't know if I want that. I don't want Jericho part of another faction. Also, I thought if we disband the Jericho Appreciation Society, we're done here. Jericho's just going to be this guy up here being a mentor, putting people over. But if we get him into another faction, I don't want that. That means we're going to have 30-minute long segments on Dynamite every week of them fucking playing baseball or something dumb. I don't want it.
I know you don't want it, but I was thinking about this because I'm like, I'm going to have an answer. Do I want it? Here's the difference with the Jericho Appreciation Society and joining Don Callis's family. The Jericho Appreciation Society, all about Jericho, right?
True.
I don't even think I can name all the members right now. I already forgot half of them. They just slowly just started to disappear. And so that it was all about Jericho. There was no one else that really ever took any of the shine. There was no one else that you really even cared about. Maybe Sammy, possibly, but there was nobody else that made you say, look at me. Nobody else that was grabbing your attention like Jericho was. If he does join with Don Callis has the personality where you're going to look at him too, and it's not just going to be about Chris Jericho. So it's going to be a totally different dynamic than what the Inner Circle was and than what the Jericho Appreciation Society was. Of course, we still don't have too many members, right? But just, Takeshita, Callis, and Jericho. So I do feel like it could be a different type of vibe than what we were getting prior with some of the prior Jericho stables.
And this kind of confused. I'm a little bit confused about the whole thing because then they announced a match for next week, Dynamite. Chris Jericho's going to take on Commander on the show, and I'm like, okay, how's Don Callis going to play into this? What kind of story are they trying to tell over here? What's Chris Jericho trying to do moving forward? Is he trying to keep putting these guys over, kind of continue what he did as the Ring of Honor champion? Or is he trying to get into another tag team? Is he trying to leech off of Don Callis's heat? I'm just confused about the whole thing, honestly.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. Like, I'm looking forward to the possibility and the concept of it all,
Mm-hmm.
but I can't tell you what feels like the end game right now.
Right. If it's what somebody recommended in here, and that Chris Jericho's going to replace Bryan Danielson, I hope not.
So there's another comment that I do want to read, and this one is from from Zeno Hour, who says Jericho is going to turn face. Watch. What if he swerves Don Callis?
Jericho's gonna turn face.
Because today's promo that he cut kind of did have some baby face.
It did.
Tones
It did.
into it.
It did. It did.
Like, I thought it was going to happen tonight, quite frankly.
Yes. Okay. Now I'm trying to think of, like, does that work? Phil and I just talked about how heel heavy AEW is, and, like, remember we talked about the Jungle Boy thing and how it's going to be hard for him to really be a strong heel when there's so many strong heels. Like, you got to compete with CM Punk and Jay White and MJF and Moxley, like all these guys that are super strong in promos. And so I'm like, I guess they do need some other people on the face side, and turning Jericho, I guess, isn't the worst idea that they have here.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll see what goes down with this, but that's pretty much where we're at with all of that. All right, so let's go ahead and get into, I actually want to get into the closing of the show. And the closing of the show, we saw a pretty damn good match between Kenny Omega and Wheeler Yuta. So what we got here, I would say they gave Wheeler Yuta a whole lot in this match, man. He took 2 V triggers and it took 2 V triggers to essentially get him down, and then the one-winged angel. But for a second there, they kind of were trying to make you think that there was a really good chance that Yuta was actually going to get the victory here. And at one point we see Don Callis get involved. Konosuke Takeshita attacks Kenny Omega from behind, hits him with the Blue Thunder bomb. All of the odds stacked against Kenny Omega, but eventually he ends up winning. And then after this, Claudio comes out, attacks Kenny Omega. Then the Bucks and Hangman come out to help out their buddy, clearly. And then afterwards, the Dark Order comes out to help out the BCC. And this is all just, there's a lot happening here.
There's a lot going on.
What did you make of the match? And I know we spent a lot of time talking about the Dark Order, so we don't even got to get into that anymore. But what did you think about everything else?
The match was great. Seeing Kenny Omega back on TV is awesome after that match of the year candidate he had with Will Ospreay. And next week he's going to be in AAA doing a match against Vikingo. So getting him back, getting him warmed up, getting him ready for that is awesome. They gave Wheeler a lot of time. Wheeler is such a great wrestler, and he's shown being with the BCC. I think a lot of times, and a lot of people talked about how it could have potentially been Daniel Garcia was the one that was in the BCC, and maybe Wheeler didn't deserve to be where he is. But every time, every big match that he's had, he's shown that he's a great wrestler. He's shown that he should be a part. And this was just another display right here. I mean, it's not too hard when Kenny Omega's on the other side of the ring to produce something great. But yeah, they had us locked up pretty good when Takeshita came in and hit the Blue Thunder bomb. It was like, yo, Yuta really might beat Kenny Omega right here. This might be kind of nuts. Kenny got out of it, ended up finishing the match. Really great, strong stuff here. And anytime Kenny Omega main events the show, just feels a lot bigger. They need to continue to do this. I want to see Kenny Omega anytime we have the possibility in a one-on-one match, because it's always so strong. And I think leading into Blood and Guts, the angle has been pretty strong. Them not having Moxley and some of these other extracurriculars could play a role in it. But I think they're going to finish strong, and they're going to put together a really dope match for Blood and Guts.
I like everything that you kind of broke down there. And there was something that I wanted to add to this. Oh, yeah. It was that I would have been pissed if Wheeler Yuta defeated Kenny Omega.
Right. That would have been weird, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I would have been pissed, man. Like, I like Wheeler Yuta, right? And sometimes I do forget how good Wheeler Yuta is. I do think that I need those reminders every so often. Really, I do. But I do tend to be a bigger fan. I don't know if I'm a bigger fan of his or Daniel Garcia. I think I kind of go back and forth. But I do tend to forget that Wheeler Yuta can actually go. I don't know. I just forget. But I would have been pissed had he defeated Kenny Omega here, honestly. Like, I didn't care.
I don't think Kenny would come back and lose.
No, thanks. I was not going to sign up for that at all. But this ended up being very entertaining. They gave Wheeler a whole lot, and so that was fine. But we got a super chat here from Mike T90K, who says, "Hey Denise, awesome crowd tonight for Dynamite. My nephew does the Daniel Garcia dance every time Garcia comes on screen. I'm getting better at it too." You know, it could have easily been something that was annoying, but I've actually really kind of enjoyed the random moments that we've gotten in the Daniel Garcia dance.
I can't believe it, honestly. As somebody who was, big Daniel Garcia fan before he came into WWE, unreal. Before he came into AEW, and
he had a Jim Ross moment, right?
Yeah, I know, seriously. This is crazy. Before he came into AEW, and he was this really serious wrestler, and he was about kind of continuing on the legacy of the Pure Division and Bryan Danielson and Shibata and all these things. But then he became a part of the Jericho Appreciation Society, and he started with the sports entertainer stuff. And you're just like, that's silly, that's funny. And then he started doing this dance, and you're like, there's no way that that's going to become a thing. But he made it a thing. Like, he's going to become a monster babyface one day because of that dance, Denise. And that's like,
hey, you just never know what's going to get over, right? Like something that's over right now, like on the other side of the company, the other side of wrestling, we got getting over.
I mean, yeah, right. You never know. It could be anything.
It can be anything. It can be a dance. It could be, damn. I mean, every freaking event that I go to, how many Orange Cassidys don't you see?
It's crazy. It's like he feels like the most cosplayed wrestler there is. Like, there's always some Orange Cassidy. To him and Darby, like there's always some type of representation for them. It's really crazy, man. I mean, people that have been fans of WWE for so long, you never thought there would be like actual other like superstars in a different company. There have been some made, which is really dope to see. And I think Daniel Garcia with this damn dance could be one of those people one day, which is unreal.
Okay, there's another example. The scissoring. Who would
have thought? The scissoring. Yeah, right.
Come on now. Who would have thought? That's just
wild to even think about. Like, even still you saying, and I'm like, wait a second. But then I remember what you're talking about, because it's still crazy that they got that over. Like, some people try to be offended by that little kids do it, but it's like little kids do it. You know what I mean?
People are offended?
Yeah, people are offended when they see
like non-wrestling fans or
no wrestling fans. They're like, I can't believe they're scissoring in front of kids, and they shouldn't be doing so. I've seen stuff like this before, and I'm just like, man, I was doing suck it in 6th grade, dude. Like, where's the line? What do you want? I mean, I was getting in trouble too, but I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like kids know stuff. All right, let's just be real. Yeah, kids know stuff. All right,
try to act like we're dumb.
I'd be like, sometimes there's so many kids in my family, okay? So many. I'm Mexican. There's like a million kids here. And some of the things that I hear them say, I'm just like, you talk like that? I look at my
Mexican
aunts and I'm
friends
like,
growing up, Denise, they were talking some wild stuff. I was always like, man, y'all bros be wilding. That's but that's like at 6 years old. This isn't like, you know what I mean? Like we see stuff. You growing up in the hood too, like you see all kind of crazy stuff. Scissoring and suck it, there's nothing compared to the real. Yeah, exactly. You're like, on the totem pole of life, that's nothing.
It's nothing. Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine. Like, the way I see it is, if you're, never mind. I'm not going to get into this whole thing, because then I'm just going to get mad.
You're about to start going in, huh, Denise?
I'm going to get mad, because the way I see it, okay, let me just break it down. Pro wrestling is a violent sport, okay? You're literally paid every time you go to see other people beat each other up, okay? So, with that being said, if you go to a pro wrestling show and you see something like scissoring and you get offended because you brought your child to the event, I'm sorry, what?
Like, if that offends you after like somebody gets dropped on their head and pile drove and like hit with the chair, and you're like, no, actually the little hand gesture, that's what offends me here. It's like, we're losing recipes, you guys. We got to figure something else out.
We're losing the next war.
It's lost. The white flag has been waved already. We're done.
I say that all the time. Anytime I see like really like silly stuff, I'm just like, that's it. We ain't winning the next war. We're done.
There's no way we can win the next war. We're doomed. Whenever it is, whatever it may be, we're done.
I mean, you know what we're missing? We're missing one more thing. We're missing the Undertaker on this podcast going, when men were men.
Why?
It's actually my favorite quote ever. I'm like, I know the way that he meant it, but I've turned it into something funny now. Like, every time in my house, I'm like, when men were men.
Yeah, he was being serious, Denise.
He was being serious.
Wasn't
I know
a joke.
he was.
He's
I know
like,
he was.
wrestling, don't you dare. And Denise is just like,
But it's so funny though.
man. It is funny because it's so silly that he said that and like he really thinks like, dude, shut up.
Oh man, you know what Joe Rogan should have done? He should, or his producer or somebody should have just like cued in William Regal's theme song right after that. Boom, bam, he's a man.
Just right into his ears. Listen to this, Taker.
Oh man. Alrighty. Let's see where we're at here. Let me make sure that I got everyone's super chats here. And really quickly, I think the last thing we didn't talk about, and we kind of glossed over it, I guess, was Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland versus Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin. Anything that you want to add here? It was a pretty fun match. Getting to see that Code Red on Keith.
Yeah, there's a lot of dope stuff. That the Code Red on Keith and him bill tossing Darby to the moon is very great. That step up last call that Swerve hit it was insane. Like a bunch of stuff was really dope in this. I just want them to put it into Keith Lee and Swerve so bad. I just can't take it anymore. Wrap it up, finish it up, you guys. Yeah, it's just kind of like talking again about this blind eliminator tournament stuff. Both the matches were just kind of like, this was a great match, but it's like, so I'm more interested in like what comes out of it, of like Swerve being involved with Darby Allin and with Orange Cassidy. The great thing about this is Swerve has been looking awesome. Him coming out with Mogul Embassy and all these matches the last couple of weeks has been building up his stock. And so I think every time that he's on TV is even better. It's going to be on TV with Nick Wayne next week. It's pretty high. He's up.
I got to finish the story with Keith Lee and Swerve.
Don't, Denise.
Finish the story.
Don't.
All right. And one more thing that I didn't mention, we had the Acclaim versus the Bollywood Boys and the Blade. Very happy to see the Bollywood Boys. But after this, Harley Cameron popped up on screen with scissors. And she basically said that next week she's going to show us what real talent is and that the Acclaimed are going to be peanut butter and jealous.
Okay, Denise, before this should be our last thing here. I seen somebody on Twitter say that the Acclaim has fell very far from grace. At one point, they were the most overacting AEW, like bar none. Man, woman, tag team, anything. It doesn't matter. When their name came, when they music hits, they were up. Now they're kind of, it's not the same. Do you think that the
I have the answer for you,
Reg. Did AEW make a conscious effort to kill off their momentum? Because it feels like you
want to know when they put the sword in the Acclaim and tried to kill them and stab them to death? When they lost the tag team titles and we saw the Guns become champs. That, my friend, that was the freaking dagger.
Damn.
That was the moment. I'm
sorry. You're right. Yeah, they never fully recovered. They were so hot, Denise. Like people, every show that we went to, anytime they bring up the Acclaim, they'd be like, people were going nuts. And that momentum was so strong. And I'm like, did they do this on purpose? That's the only thing that's kind of driving me crazy. I'm like, did they do this on purpose? Did AEW be like, we can't have this tag team being the hottest team in the world. Let's just relegate them to B shows at Rampage and have them with Billy Gunn. Like, Billy Gunn's a legend and all, you guys, I fucks with him, but he was like the worst member of DX. Like, I don't want to stand, like, how are we supposed to stand behind this guy? Like, even behind Brian, and Brian is terrible. He still was like the fourth member of DX. Like, that's really crazy to even think about. And they attached him to them so strong, and it kind of killed them off. Why?
I don't know why they did it. I don't know why. I think that's one of the biggest, I feel, and especially given how long we waited for this to happen. Remember when they lost to Keith Lee and Swerve when we all, what was it? All In, All Out. I already forgot which one. All Out, right? Was that All Out?
It was All Out. Yeah.
And remember that the whole crowd
they were mad.
Was waiting.
Oh, because it was the same night of Brawl Out. Because they were asking about. Remember, they were asking in the scrum. They were like, "Tony Khan, did you think about making an audible?" The audible thing was a big thing before the audible happened. But for a little bit we were like, "What?" I was like, "They're never calling audible. That's stupid." But a lot of people were like, "Why didn't Tony Khan call an audible?" So yeah, it traces back to then where people were like, "We don't care what you're doing. We love the Acclaim," and things have just.
Yeah, so it seems like it hasn't been right for the Acclaim. The booking hasn't been right. Like they got over.
Yeah,
great.
Totally.
But the booking hasn't been right since that very beginning when they didn't call the audible.
When they didn't call the audible. Damn.
Man,
yeah, you're right. That's pretty unfortunate. Pretty unfortunate.
Alrighty, well, that was AEW Dynamite for today. We want to thank everybody who tuned in. Just a friendly reminder that I will be back here on Friday to talk some WWE Smackdown. So if you're all about that, make sure to tune in on Friday for that show. This Saturday, I will be here doing a Collision post-show, and I will be joined by Alex, Queen of the Ring. She'll be here on Saturday. So make sure you guys come through, come hang out. And there's still so much more coming here to the channel. If you guys haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Every Wednesday, it's going to be myself and Reg here talking about AEW Dynamite. So if you guys like the Cali Connection, let us know, tweet us, let us know, and keep coming back here each and every single week. We're trying to grow the podcast even more. But before we go, Reg, where can the people follow you, support you, all that good stuff?
You can see me every Saturday morning with Philip Lindsay, Grapsody Podcast. It's the flagship. We're talking everything in pro wrestling for the week. Every other Thursday, Phil Lindsay and I are doing Ask Grapsody on Fightful Select. Every Wednesday, I'm on with Mike from Indeed and Denise here. Every Thursday after Ring of Honor, I'm on. This week, we got a very special interview with Athena coming out that Phil and I did a couple of days ago. That's super dope. It's going to either drop tomorrow or Friday, I think. Before the Owen Hart match this weekend, because we talked a lot about that, talked a lot about her future opponents, some stuff she wants to do in Japan. So make sure to keep it locked for that. That's coming this week. Super exciting.
Check that stuff out, guys. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye, everyone.